the AC for the rest of the day. It's pretty nice.
I love it. So yeah, I just hit the live because we got a good conversation going on.
I
So
love it.
I'm looking to move back to Southern California, literally 15 minutes away from where our guest today, Ryan Garland, is at and where he's been living. So and my parents lived like 15 minutes away for 25 years.
Yeah,
So,
from Temecula for me.
yeah.
I love it out there. My kids, my son plays. He's a Division I starting catcher, and he's in Temecula now. And just the opportunity for him is big. I'm going back and forth between Tennessee and Arizona, and obviously California. But California, there's still a lot of amazing, beautiful things about California. One being sports, and Temecula is like a hub. So where you're going and where I'm located it's all kind of pollinates. So it's a really cool place to raise kids for sure.
Love it. So we are specifically targeting next May because my wife is actually closing her side of the law firm in December.
Okay.
Studying
She's retiring,
to take
huh?
No. She's studying to take the bar in California, and you try to juggle too much. She has to pass. She gets her results in April. We pick up and move in May.
There you go. Good for you. You could work from anywhere.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter.
You can do
it. And I refuse
to
take the bar, but I really don't practice law, so it works out.
You just know too much.
Yeah, and let me share this. This was literally, we just went out to have this wonderful dinner. Our 18th
Happy anniversary. That's awesome. What a blessing.
It was literally last night. So it was
how cool.
Man, perfect timing. Well, we got people starting to roll in. I know it'll keep showing up. So let me do the official introduction. I'm giving up on the stupid jokes because people have made fun of me way too much about it, even though I love it. But we've got for the second time, a really impressive guy that I've known for a long time, Ryan Garland. Thanks for joining us today. You actually were on like a couple of months ago.
Yep.
And I received such a huge response to it of people that were just like, this is some of the best information I got. But we didn't even get to talk about what I was bringing you on to talk about.
Yep.
Which was honestly the craziest part. So I do want you to introduce yourself, but just to kind of, here's where our discussion is going to be going today, where we're going to be talking about building your social media awareness, your channel, your presence, actually advertising, what it looks like. Ryan is literally running ads right now, and we'll look at them. But those ads go to a funnel for how the investors find out more, get to the point of being able to invest. And then I'm going to take it to the other side with the new strategy of how to bring in non-accredited investors, very similarly with what the funnel on that side looks like. So we're going to be jumping into that stuff. But most importantly, Mr. Ryan Garland, thanks for being here today.
Dude, so I truly enjoy, like, even before we started this, how much I just love talking to you. I think I call you every once in a while just to kind of shoot the crap, see how you're doing, and talk shop and see where the world's going, because you guys have your thumb on the pulse when it comes to crowdfunding. And it's impressive, especially with the market.
I appreciate it. And right now, there are so many different things happening. This is going great. This is not going great.
Yep.
In the next week or two, I'm going to actually do a deep dive into what's working and what's not in real estate. So hopefully you can join and everybody else at that point. Sure. But hey, you going to Newport anytime soon?
I can. Yeah, I'm actually going back to California next week, so right after the holiday. And then I'll be out there for about a week and a half, and then I'll be coming back. But every time I come back into California, I'm trying to meet with people and see what's going on. But I'm in Newport quite a bit, believe it or not. It's kind of a hub for me for business.
Well, I love it. Pony is asking about that, so I'm just going to throw it up here. Pony and everybody else, if you want to get a hold of Ryan, if you want to get some great information about raising capital, we'll throw up the website here is a QR code to make life nice and simple. And Pony, you've already know our pretty amazing attorneys. Met my securities managing attorney, Arden Anderson, who it's comical. Like, Ryan, you've worked with Arden in the past.
Mm-hmm.
She is so opposed to actually being on camera ever. She like refuses to.
Well, now I'll just start FaceTiming her and see if she answers.
She literally may not answer. Like, no, she'll answer, but it's just going to be one of these.
Yep.
You ain't going to be seeing anything.
She's probably one of the best attorneys I've ever met in regards to the security side, especially for the Reg A and CFL firings. She is very, very in tune. In fact, I call her and ask her just randomly to test the water. You know, where are you? How many events are you going to? Are you still in the game? What do you got? Right? She's going to more, I think, seminars, conferences, and you know, she's got direct contact with the SEC. So I get a lot of intel from her and good practices from her. She's great.
Well, and something that at some point you're gonna be ready. Don't know if it's now or later, but she actually takes companies public too. Mm-hmm. Like full on IPO, doing the public REITs, getting out there and making just those amazing things happen. Not a lot of people know that she is like at that level of an attorney. So the things that we talk about now, it's like just eyes closed. She got it knocked out the park. So it's
and that's the thing I appreciate about her, because I'm kind of a big picture guy. I'm always pushing, not only myself, but also my company to not only perfect, become better, but I'm also a big visionary. So having somebody that goes, okay, well, when you get to this stage, this is what we can do. Right. From a compliance side, she's like, okay, once you have so much under management, there's more red tape, there's more compliance involved. So what's your overall goal? And then here's the strategy to get there. So that's what I really appreciate with Arden and pretty much everybody in your firm.
Love it. And let me mention, you're working from home. This is my home office that very rarely does anybody ever see from here. So it's seems like a great day to not be in the office.
It's funny. A lot of people ask me, like, why are you in the garage? And I kind of have branded myself as being one of the largest man cave developers in the country. And so it's always kind of makes sense to have cars and boats and in garages and so forth, right? So I always just kind of jump on calls like this, and that way the branding kind of aligns with, you know, what we're doing overall. So, but yeah, I'm just sitting in my garage and it's nice and air conditioned out here in the desert, and we build stuff that's probably superior to most in their garage space, and people put their toys in here and do all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm kind of in that, I kind of nerd out when it comes to that stuff.
Well, I saw you lean over a bit, and you've got quite a nice car just hanging out behind you.
Well, that's a wide body calling in with an Aventador back there too. So we like to have a little bit of fun. You got to. You work hard, play hard.
Man, that is like the entire substance of life. That's the only reason why, at least I know you, we're killing ourselves each and every day to do exactly that.
Yeah.
So, But I am ready to race you. I do have my Tesla Plaid because I love getting out there, and you know what? I'll take on any Lambo. It's so much fun.
Those things are really fast. I'm impressed how fast those things are. I have a couple of buddies that had them, and those throw me. I don't think I've ever been in a car faster, to be honest with you.
0 to 60, 1.7 seconds, and you feel it.
And you feel it. Absolutely. I think it's crazy. Love it.
So along those lines, let's dive into what we're here to talk about. Everybody showed up, and thank you, everybody. If you have questions as we're going along, please throw it in chat. We want to make sure that we're delivering to you value. And really, this is the substance of, if you're getting online, if you're trying to figure out how to raise capital, here's the guy that's been doing it successfully for a long time, and the step-by-step of how to really make it happen. So, Matt, what kind of marketing are you doing? That's literally why you're here. What kind of marketing are you doing? So let's just jump right into it. And Ryan, if you don't mind, where it all starts are with
Perfect.
ads. You have so many ads going on that literally all these are different ads that you're running. Well, what do you got? I'm seeing about 8. I think these are just the live ones because I saw about 70 other ones when I had the show me everything going on.
Yeah, I'll kind of give you a backstory on kind of how we ended up perfecting to get into here, if you'd like, so that way people can understand how far into this we've gotten and kind of where it started, if you don't mind.
Please do.
Yeah, so let's just say when the Job Act was it 2013 and allowed you to start soliciting for capital, I ended up rubbing elbows with a guy who, believe it or not, at the time I was doing a lot of hard money loans, and that's kind of how I cut my teeth in the space 20 years ago, and I've always been in that space, and I even manage a $100 million debt fund now for private lending. But what happened is in 2013, I had a guy that was really big into marketing, and he had the largest real estate investment groups, the first 5 largest groups on LinkedIn. And back then on LinkedIn, the platform was set up in a way where you became a part of an investment group or any group on LinkedIn. The owner of that group was able to extract all those emails and contact information, where now you can only communicate with that group. You can't get the login emails from the occupants, if you will. What happened is he came to me and was kind of in a bind and said, "Hey, I'll sell you this list." And I've always been targeting him and some of his groups about, basically lending money to him, but he was always doing it cash, and I didn't know how he was doing it. And ultimately what he did is he was using these, and this was when emails actually first started. And he gave me a list of about 300,000 people, and I did an email campaign. In fact, it was one of your prior attorneys that I reached out to. And we did, and this is in 2013, 14-ish. And we ended up raising in 1 week $1.4 million on just emails, and then taking phone calls and shoveling everybody to, one landing page that was an investment summary. And this is where I think the crowdfunding side really started picking up, because you realized how powerful that was, that you literally can start raising capital overnight, while you're sleeping. So that's really kind of what started.
I want to mention this because it is important. You are completely correct. You cannot scrape information off Meta, Facebook, Instagram anymore.
Nope.
However, there are still some people that have figured out how to do it well on LinkedIn. So those opportunities are out there. You just have to be smarter than the next guy, or at least connect with that guy that's way smarter than any of us to still be able to scrape those emails.
And I hire people that are smarter than me when it comes to that. So we ended up, and to be candid, as everybody knows, and it's no secret, Meta's in a lot of lawsuits in regards to privacy acts and so forth. So you have to be very strategic on how you are starting to not only solicit for capital, but get through certain issues that they are continuing to have on their end. Just using Meta as an example, to be able to get in front of the right audience. You need to understand your audience and understand who's got the capital, who is really going to be the one most likely to invest into your business model, right? So let's say shotgunning to where we are today, I've been consistently raising capital with those methods since then. So I've had a platform that we've constantly dumped millions into. And in fact, if you were to ask my controller, I probably have $8 million now just in my marketing platform. That is not salaries or any of that. This is systems and building lists and communicating with investors and having an online presence and all that fun stuff. So we have a lot of money into a platform. Now, if I can turn back the hands of time and do it again, I would do it with a fraction of the money, like probably less than a couple $100,000. But again, we had to shift.
We all try different things and just see what works. And my God, we've all wasted so much money along the way.
Oh yeah, and was it Realty Shares kind of pioneered, right? They raised $800 million. They were the pioneers in the crowdfunding game. They got big, very similar to Realty Mogul, CrowdStreet, those other big platforms. But that was also startup capital. They had seed capital to get them over. That was very institutionalized. They had kind of other income producing revenue streams to create the sustainability to go to a market to raise capital to dump into the platform. We didn't have that. So we pretty much had to do it the hard way. I'm not sitting on Wall Street just, hey buddy, you want to invest $5 million with me so I can build an idea, kind of thing. I just didn't have it. So we really had to do it the hard way. And really it was through your network, which is something I can touch on how to really get over the edge and start raising money and get to that million or 2 or 5 million, but you can do it rather easy, but with the right strategy and of course the right compliance. But there is ways to get moving rather quickly too.
And of course, when it does come down to moving quickly, and this is more difficult than most people realize, you are running live ads and you are driving traffic that you don't know. You've so far been talking about more the email and the content marketing, but you're running these live ads that are now driving traffic. And very specifically, they're driving traffic to your link tree and your information.
That's really through my Instagram. Instagram is probably one of the most powerful tools right now for building awareness. And a lot of people don't understand this, but the more you post on social media, in essence, building credibility. So guys, when you have such a large wealth transfer from baby boomers to millennials, and you look at millennials' practices, they're always going to look up people on Instagram, Facebook, and kind of get a gauge of who you are. Because the reality is investors do not invest in just the business model. They invest into the operator. So by having a link tree and having a presence on social media is very important. Now you kind of have the pros and the cons, right? So you go real hard on marketing and branding and building awareness for what you do. You have the really good, which is people who engage with you and want to know more information and possibly invest with you. Then you kind of have the naysayers and so on and so forth. And I always tell people it's the ones that don't have a background in the business that are always the naysayers. They're the negativity side of things is not that bad. It's just very uneducated people that don't do what you do. So you can just build some scales and slide them off your back. But utilizing Instagram as a tool to build awareness is very, very important. And ultimately that link tree is kind of everything you have, right? So in essence, we're writing a third book and those books are up on the link tree. You have, other platforms, my YouTube channels, my email list. You can look at all of our websites. Everything's right there. It's pretty, it's catchy. You have fun lifestyle stuff to marry up because obviously Instagram is very lifestyle driven. The algorithms are designed that way. So by marrying up everything strategically, it helps you get in front of the right people and then obviously, hopefully get them to invest with you. So Instagram and a link tree is very, very, probably, I would say 30% of our revenue that comes in.
Love it. In terms of just building the channels, do you have any comments or what should people be thinking about when they are building that awareness before they're even pitching and throwing their ads out there to start driving traffic?
So I tell everybody, and I know this is kind of a weird saying, so I really hope people take it serious because I've gone back and forth. So you guys can look at my websites and you look at stuff and you'll see me in a suit and tie and you'll see me very institutionalized. I can polish up pretty well. But what I'm realizing is that you're not going to create trust with your investors, especially the smaller ones, right? If you want to get at the institutional level and deal with higher net worth clientele, everybody that's ever written a check for over $1 million, our largest check writer is 18 million and wants to put in $32 more million with us. But at that level, you're getting a list of attorneys involved. You never have someone that invests with you maybe less than 500 grand without having an attorney involved, right? So at that point, when you're utilizing social media, you want to try to portray yourself as being a normal person. Post about your family, post about your hardships, post about, so being really transparent with who you are. And that right there is going to get people to trust you. You're going to be able to pull on people's heartstrings, get them to engage with you. And so I tell everybody, my best advice is to literally be yourself. Do not worry about what anybody thinks. If you're too strategic and you're too just business, people won't take your Instagram serious. Do not pay for followers. Do not pay for likes. You can boost your ads to build awareness and get in front of people, but don't pay for that stuff. It messes up your algorithm and it ends up hurting you to get in front of the right people organically. But again, the best advice would be to try to be yourself.
Absolutely love it. So you've built in that awareness through your channels. You are driving traffic to your link tree. Tell us about those next steps of, hey, I really like what you're doing. I want to learn more about what you got offered.
So by being yourself allows you to be approachable, right? And so what happens is people will ultimately look at your stories because that's your very first way to get in front of a lot of people. So for example, if you post something and you may get 100 likes, 200 likes, 300 likes, but your stories can get thousands of views. So ultimately it's a much larger audience. So through story posts, you can build awareness. So you kind of have this blend. What you'll see me do is I have 3 kids. My son plays baseball. I have an 8-year-old. That's probably the smartest I've ever met in my life. This kid's smarter than I am. I tell him to help me fix my emails. It's pretty wild. But I kind of show my overall world in my life, right? And my marriage. And I talk about that. So it connects with people. But what happens is I'm trying to be approachable for people to ask questions, because what happens is that I'm realizing that I can pump out content and IRRs and returns and minimum investments all you want. And it'll get people's attention, but that's not what's going to get them to engage. What's going to get them to engage is somehow connect with them on an emotional level. And if you are a normal person and you're connecting with them and you guys have the same views or you guys have the same age group, I mean, the list goes on. If you guys have something in common, the likelihood of them engaging with you is high. So for example, I'll post something about, hey guys, you guys see this project I've done over here. You see this project I've done. I'm looking for more investors. Minimum investment is this much. Our returns are this much. If you're projected returns, right? But if you're interested in this, just reach out to me. I'll jump on a call with you, answer any questions you may have. And it's that personal touch that gets people over the edge. So ultimately make your social media look pretty, get all the stuff in place, build it out, make it nice. And then you're utilizing those stories to try to drive people to connect with you personally, rather than shovel them through, which I'll talk about that in a second, shovel them through like an online portal, which is another strategy to use, which you and I are going to talk about. But if you're going to use Instagram, and I'm speaking on Instagram specifically, every platform's different. LinkedIn's different, Facebook's different. You just have different people on these platforms. So your strategy on each platform has to be different. But going back to Instagram, that practice on Instagram seems to be the most effective, is that connection, that one-on-one.
Love it. So let's be honest. Is it actually you managing and responding to this? Or do you have that little lady in?
100% me. I get that all the time. It's 100% me. People don't understand. I'm posting at stoplights. I mean, it's a full-time job. I have a full-time staff. I have a full-time videographer, editor, and content creator, strategist, people who build my webinars, all that stuff. And people go, you get half the revenue from your social media, and I'm the one who runs my social media. And here's why. It's because you can try to have somebody run your social media, but knowing the way social media operates as far as Instagram or Facebook, it has to be a personal touch. You can't have somebody come in it's not you, try to post about you. It doesn't really work. You really kind of need to just run it yourself. And you can do it in a way where you're not as busy, and you're still building awareness, but you do have to be active every single day. If you're not posting 2-3 stories, you're not going to build that awareness. It's not going to grow your following. Same thing with LinkedIn, same thing with Facebook. So if you're looking at the social media side, you have to be pretty active on that stuff.
I'm the
one managing it.
I was asking because just for advice for everybody, and it's in part because I've in the past through time made all the mistakes, so you don't have to. Hiring offshore
I've tried
to do the posting. Yeah, no, the algorithms just don't like it. They recognize that, hey, you just hired somebody else. It's not really you. It doesn't work.
On top of that, they can never spell properly. So, just the way they respond to comments, you're like, yeah, well, that wasn't anybody in the organization. They're missing an if and an and and a the. So
you nailed it.
It's just so black and white that it's not, somebody within the organization, and that turns people down.
Another thing, using these scheduling softwares, it pops up, hey, this got scheduled by HubSpot, or this got scheduled by this, that, and the other. Again, the algorithms, and it's all about the algorithm that nobody really understands, but you do. It's getting that awareness and that drive behind it that, frankly, you don't control. So these are best practices that we're talking about from doing all the wrong things. Just want to throw that out.
Oh, yeah. No, I've tried it all. I've spent a lot of money, unfortunately, but you are right, 100%. The best thing, again, best advice is do it yourself. I promise you. Build it organically, be yourself. build awareness, talk about your family, talk about your hardships, because, at the same time too, and I don't mean to go off subject here, when I spend time with my friends, I would say people that are like-minded, the one, especially I have, kids, I'm on my second marriage, fortunately and unfortunately, your hardships really kind of share where you've been and where you're going, right? It kind of shows you a conservative nature. And so when you're able to open up to certain people, not everybody, it does allow them to build trust. You've been able to kind of control certain things within your life. And that's really where people are going to invest, especially in this market. People are scared, so you really need to build that one-on-one relationship. If you do not use those, you're not implementing those practices, you've lost the game. Nobody invests into the deal. There's a million offerings out there online. You can invest into this multifamily and this over there. It's the operators, the track record, all that matters too. So I tell everybody, if you're really trying to raise money, you don't have a big track record, the only way to do it is through your relationships, and use those platforms as such.
Absolutely love it. Any other comments before we hop into where you send investors, prospective investors to?
No, I'm good there. I can talk for hours on that. So
I know.
Once in a while.
Well, you know what? We may have to do this again down the road, but let's get into hey, you've got the advertising, you've got the social media awareness organically through stories, through your channels. They've gone to your link tree. Other platforms, you can just click direct link tree is very Instagram. Now they're checking out your website. Could you speak a little bit to this page that I've just gone to?
Yeah. So one of the things too, for everyone who's watching, and I'm very, very bullish on, is the way that it makes you feel. What I've been actually probably good at is when I look online or I'm scrolling through Instagram mindlessly or Facebook or what have you, when I see an ad, I'm able to identify how it makes me feel. Do I want to keep looking at the ad? Do I want to stop and continue to look? And that's one of the reasons why they have an algorithm that identifies on Meta that, you have 3-second views, people that stop and look, right? There's all those data points. And so for me, I'm always looking at the psychology of how does that make you feel? Anything that has light blues or blues, psychology and science shows that makes people feel calm. At the very bottom right there, you have water, you have like boats, and you have, that is all just naturally makes people feel a little more calm. That's why when you look at Fisher Investments or you look at these big institutions, they're also into the psychology of it. So if you want to be the most effective, pay attention to even those things and learn what you feel when you see other people's ads. So with this particular landing page, what we do is a couple of different marketing strategies. One, we drive awareness of who we are and we push everybody to this page, ultimately showing all of the offerings that we have. Now, my business strategy is a couple of different things. We can scroll down a little bit more, or Nate. So right there, the barn caves, and go up one more. Sorry, you're just at the first set there. So you have the barn caves. These are the most active investments we have now. So we're very bullish on the barn caves investment. That's an equity play. And then right to the right, that's a debt play. And what I've done is I've created two opportunities side by side to each other because one is more conservative of an investment than the other. For example, the barn caves is more equity. In essence, it's more risk. On the right side, the secured income fund, that's more debt. And the debt is a first trustee mortgage. It's the hard money lending that I was telling you guys about before. But right now, most people do know that during a down market, hard money lending, you can make very good money. And it's secured by a first trustee. And if God forbid we have to foreclose, we take the property back kind of thing, right? So the likelihood of losing money goes down. But it's also a cash flow investment that creates cash flow now. So I'd say 75% of my investors are baby boomers. And I'd say another 65% of those investments are through IRAs, investment retirement accounts. And it's from the tax strategy, but also knowing that the majority of baby boomers are former W-2 employees or current W-2 employees. Not as many self-employed people in the baby boomer generation as there are in further generations, right? Newer generations. So by having an IRA, knowing kind of the nature of our investors, we wanted to put side by side two investments, one that has a much larger return, but more risk, right? It's risk versus reward. But it's something else that is also, cash flow that has less risk, and you can get your money back at any time. And the reason I bring this up is because you have two different mindsets of investors. You have guys that want to come in and they want to maximize their returns, and they're currently still working and they're in their 40s and 50s and they don't really care about the cash flow. But then you're also dealing with the baby boomer generation that are preparing themselves for retirement, which typically means their cash flow is going to come down because they're not going to work. And then that will offset that cash flow that now that they're not working, they put some money into the secured income fund and cash flow. So what we've done is we're driving awareness to push people to this page to show people that we have two options for them. One's a little more cash flow driven and the other one's more accumulation driven. That's what we do with this page. And then breaking it down further, we then drive the individual pages separately. Now, the key is, and this is where your marketing strategist or strategy needs to come into play. Knowing that I have so this Barn Caves project, one of the things that we do is we always target market around the area that your project is in. So for example, this is in Arizona. So I'm always targeting, within 50 miles, 200 miles of that location is typically the direction I go. And why? It's because if people know the area, they travel out there and they enjoy, family time out there, and it's, recreational lake life, they probably have traveled there and know about it. So the people that are going to want to invest are typically people that know about the investment. They can drive to the investment. They understand the area, and it's not, you don't have to sell it. They understand the area and how much it's growing. So that is the path of least resistance there. But as we market the other offering, we won't market that offering to the same group, because in essence, if we're spending money on two separate campaigns with the same algorithms, we're competing for that slot for the same eyeballs. So you always want to change your algorithms and your target market and where you're going. You want to start chasing more cash flow minded people, maybe a little bit back east or central US, where this all really hone in on investors that are looking for accumulation right here in the area. However, when you do talk to these people over the phone, naturally you talk about other offerings that we have, our background, our track record, how we got into the business, and so on and so forth. And then it typically just kind of pollinates and people diversify because, again, they don't want to put all their eggs in one basket. So there's those two ways. We market the platform and drive everybody to the website, utilizing the website and the content on the website to build credibility. Hopefully they engage. And then separately, we market just the investment opportunity alone. And that's the pitch deck for the secured income fund. So that is also something that goes out in emails and so on and so forth.
I was expecting to see something. Oh, here's the Invest Now button. How people can actually learn more and actually invest. And it looks like you've got kind of the end of the path going to let's have a conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many people click on Invest Now. In fact, we wanted to, the strategy overall was to be very similar to like CrowdStreet or Realty Mogul. You don't talk to anybody through those platforms, right? You can put in your information, but you never get a hold of anybody. No one calls you. It's all done online. So investors literally wire in money right there online, $50,000, $100,000, $2,500, whatever the minimum is. And it's pretty impressive, but they're also doing $1 billion a year and have tons of offerings on their platform, and they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month of driving people to their landing page. Well, if you don't have that type of money, you kind of have to expect people aren't just going to wire in money right out the gate, but you want to be able to give them the option. So ultimately, we have tried to figure out all of the ways to be able to allow people to not only invest, get involved, ask for more information. And that's really the key, is providing just kind of every vehicle that people can get involved in and at least get a hold of somebody too.
So
or invest directly, not talking to somebody.
We're a good way through this. I just kind of want to summarize where we started and where we have gotten to. And organically, you're building your channels and awareness by posting daily yourself, not hiring some third party. In addition, running boosted posts and advertisements to continue to drive more interest, more basically clicks. We're using Instagram as an example. They're going to your link tree. From your link tree, the next step is to a landing page. You may only have one investment. Ryan, he's got multiple investments that are open, but not only that, deals that are getting worked on, completed projects, prior performance. If you have that, put it out on the front porch, because that shows that you actually know what you're doing. And so for your current opportunities, you're already building that know, like, and trust. From here, now we're going to the individual projects where you're giving more specific information. You're including these, and we went through this, page by page, another one last time, just a beautiful pitch deck that higher level, but here's what's going on. Here's what you're investing into. Ultimately, leading to that invest now click, which is bringing, for Ryan, your funnel to a page that people can connect with you and connect with your team directly. Do I kind of get the sequence down pretty well?
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, ultimately, the idea is to utilize every platform for its strengths and drive people to what you're trying to get in front of them, which is ultimately investing. One of the things that you also want to be careful on, though, is just mass marketing and you're bringing a lot of crap too, So being able to kind of sometimes get people to, let's say, for example, on Meta, and these are all, sponsored ads in essence, meaning these are paid ads. What we've done is we also make people go through a funnel. And if they click on all these drop downs, are you accredited, non-accredited? Have you invested into a platform before? How much your level of investment? That type of stuff. What's your location? What state are you in? Which also for compliance is important for us to know for Blue Sky. There's these things. And so ultimately what happens is if they get through that and the lead is generated, once we make contact with them, the likelihood of them being real goes up. And that's actually been the biggest deal saver ever. We used to, one time, we were like, oh, drive ads, drive leads. And we would get 300-400 leads a day. It was wild, but you had to field through all those leads. Right. Even though your cost per lead may go up, if that quality lead, if it's a better quality lead, then it's worth it, So how do we get people to put enough information in there to be real, but not too much information to push them away where they have to just jump through all kinds of hoops, where we can capture their information, we can get them set up to, maybe our Outlook and book a call with us. They automatically get automatic emails from us and text messages from us, and then get a phone call from us as well, just hopefully answering any questions or giving them the pitch deck for further review. Right. And when you do that, you shovel everybody to one page and you try to get them to, again, put enough information in there to not just generate crap leads. That's really that's the balance, and that's what you really want. So I would advise everybody, if you're interested, go to my website and go through the process. Don't put your information in there, otherwise you're gonna get a phone call and a bunch of emails. But unless you want it, it's really good. I mean, that's what we did. We went to all of our competitors, put all our information in, got all the automatic emails, took away from what worked. So you feel free to do that, but you are going to get a call from one of my people. So just know that. Other than that, yeah, you're right. We're shoveling everybody to a landing page.
So I really want to talk about kind of a different strategy, and we are seeing some great traction here. Let me just mention this for anybody that wants to connect with Ryan or connect with or our companies. Kennedy, please drop our landing page for this into chat. Here's a QR code. Just reach on out. But I do really want to speak to the other side of raising capital and crowdfunding. I will say that with Ryan, what you're doing, it is perfect. Looking for that $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 investor, because they're not just playing around online and saying, oh, this makes sense. I don't need to talk to anybody. I'm sold. Where do I send my $100,000? It just doesn't happen that way.
It does not.
So we've created, and really not, nobody else there in the markets are doing this, kind of let's add another layer to this strategy. And I call this the side-by-side investment, and kind of a higher level of strategies where you're running at the same time, concurrently, they call it, the same accredited only opportunity, exactly as Ryan has presented it, where it really needs to have a phone call and a discussion to figure out what makes the most sense for the investor. But also running, they call it a regulation crowdfunding offering at the same time. The difference being with what Ryan's doing and with all these $100,000 investment deals, they call that a Regulation D, Rule 506C offering. Generally, there's it averages about $50,000 minimum investment, but through this regulation crowdfunding, now you can accept thousands of the smaller investors, but they're generally investing less. And because they're investing less, you can't talk to them all. Last week, we talked to a investment relations firm. They can handle those phone calls, but the reality is you don't want to deal with somebody that's investing $1,000 or $5,000. So, but if somebody goes to this landing page, they go to this, I'm not an accredited investor, I'm not a millionaire. They go and see this other landing page. And to bring it back to what Ryan's been talking about and what we've been talking about driving that traffic, it's the same process to get somebody here. Ads, social media awareness, building your channels. I love this because, hey, I'm accredited, I'm high net worth, I'm looking to invest $50,000, $100,000. I want to have that phone call. They click that accredited investor, they go to have that phone call. They are not accredited, no problem. It goes to this crowdfunding portal. Here's an example of this other group. They raised $1.5 million so far from the smaller investors. Through one of these portals, you put your presentation right out there. Here's a webinar explaining what's happening with this investment, along with your pretty pictures, your about the deal itself. There's always risks with investing, but one of the most unique things, besides, hey, get all your documents here, the investments happen right on the portal. So now all of a sudden you don't have to talk to the investors. It all gets processed. Well, really, I think this is one of the most important and unique things. Is you don't want to have those one-on-one conversations. Really, the Q&A happens through FAQs, frequently asked questions, and through the comments section. So sometimes there are questions that are really good, and you don't want to answer them 100 times. You add directly into the portal, here's the question, here's the answer. Everybody got the same response. So you don't have to go back and answer it over and over and over. When you're dealing with the smaller investors, which are investing more and more, and honestly, it's been a tougher market for the accredited investors. So this has been a big area of focus. And these are the strategies that we're coaching and implementing with people in order to, well, not have to do 1,000 different phone calls or answer 10,000 different things. All right. And I don't know if
and I can touch
Ryan,
on that, Nate. I can touch on that if you like. Yeah. No, so that's actually one of the best strategies, which, by the way, you were the one who drove me into that strategy. So we're doing the same thing now, right? We have a 506, which is basically a parallel offering. 506C for accredited. And one of the reasons we wanted to do that is because we already had it accredited in our network and our target market is accredited. But we also know that through that, all that meta marketing, we get a lot of people that we're learning don't know what accredited is. And then come to find out they're not accredited. So then if you give them an opportunity to still get involved, they have that other fund. That's, again, it's parallel offering to be able to get into that investment opportunity. So what we've done is identical. And, so for the CF fund, which you guys offer a lot to operators, which I think is brilliant, having a parallel fund for 506c investors and the smaller investors, the Reg A's, is so important because you'll realize the amount of people. So here's the big picture. 99% of every other offering you see on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, all this marketing, it's always 506c. So that means the accredited investor list of people are just getting hammered with options and opportunities on social media from guys like me and all these other larger platforms. So the reality is to get them to have something unique, and I could talk about that later. But you also want to remember that there are the other guys out there that want to benefit from the commercial as far as commercial real estate, benefit from the commercial real estate investments and the returns that it can produce, and give them the same option. So in essence, you're in the same boat with the same row. You just don't have to be with the big, spend $100,000 to buy in. And I'm cut from a cloth. In essence, I hate to say this, but I didn't really come from much. So my whole family are non-accredited. And so to be able to see guys like me now that have these options for people that I love that can get involved is huge. So what happens is when you're marketing, you'll see all of a sudden all these people that go, I've been wanting to invest in all these groups, but I can't because it's all accredited. So now you start dominating the space because there's not that much competition in the non-accredited space. That's really, really cool. So I would say that's important. And for us, Nate, for everybody, we've done that. We have the ability for investors to come in and invest into that barn cave project, what have you, and then they can invest as little as $2,500 and through a Reg A, and they can click on invest right there online. And a lot of people, to get people to invest, again, smaller amounts of money, it's easier mentally than that $50,000, $100,000 player where they have to talk to people. For $2,500, people can look into this and go, God forbid if things don't work out, I'm not going to go bankrupt on $2,500. So the risk tolerance is higher with a smaller check writer at that level. So by having a presence where people can go, or having a portal in essence, or an option for people to log in and just make an investment, you in essence will wake up the next morning with a bunch of subscription agreements you got to co-sign, and then some money being wired into your account. It's pretty cool. So yeah, it's a big deal, and I would advise people that's the best strategy moving forward if you're trying to successfully raise money.
And just a few comments on that. And Matt, this is really to answer your question as well. The touches with the investors that are at the smaller level, you try to avoid that at all costs. And the way to avoid it, I mean, it sounds horrible, but there's actually a saying, and Ryan, you've been around long enough to know it. Don't have non-accredited investors invest because they're a pain. And I'll tell you that that's true. You ask somebody that is not worth $1 million for $100,000, it's a huge chunk of their net worth, and they're terrified if something goes wrong. Mm-hmm. Distribution stop, what's happening? Problem with a project, what's happening? They're blowing up your phone. They're a complete pain. They are that, Matt, to your question, your other boss.
Mm-hmm. I saw that question. I want to answer it too.
Yeah, the dynamic changes when you're asking for $2,500, for $5,000, for $10,000. Now it's you've got the accredited investors worth millions and millions of dollars. To them, $50,000, no big deal. Same thing with the non-accredited at a $5,000 level. So different dynamic when it comes to those check-ins and the ongoing, hey, who do I got to talk to? What do I got to do? Best practices, always be transparent, good, bad, or ugly. Always be in communications. On a nonstop basis, let your investors know what's going on, but let your investors know what's going on through a portal. That everything goes out at the same time. You're not picking up the phone. If somebody sends you a question, force them to send you a question. Answer it through the portal. Now, everybody's got the answers. You can leverage these investment portals. And at this point, I mean, probably 75 to 85% of the deals that we get involved with crowdfunding lawyers are leveraging these portals because of the simplicity of being able to communicate, to deliver updates, to answer questions, to send tax information. Just that easy.
And if you want me piggybacking off that, this, and just to kind of go back on some of the questions too, because I thought that they had some really great questions out there. So this isn't going to be relevant for everybody on the in the commercial real estate, space, but there's ways to still continue using practices for communication with your investors. Not only email updates, which is really important, but through the portal, which is very important. For us, we try to think outside the box. What we did is we put a camera on. You can go right to our website right now and scroll down to our investment offerings and ones that are under development. You can actually click on a camera and watch live in real time. In fact, just for fun, if you want, Nate, go to Paradigm Storage right there. Click on, go up. Go ahead and click. That's Boathouse. Go up one more. Yeah, go to Paradigm Storage and then click on, go down. It'll say live stream right there. And let's see. So watch it like this. Click up on the top on that tab, hit live stream. No, that's a camera. Yep, there you go. And then the camera may need to be moved. Hold on. So check this out. You can move the camera too. So, all right. So right there on the bottom, it says pan. Just click like one. So don't go too far to the left. Go right with the blue. Yeah, click on that right there. Yep, right there. See if it goes. There you go. So there you go. You got all my guys on site right now. Got my air conditioning guy there. You got so you can watch these so you can see all the construction guys over. This is live, right? So I can not only count bodies, I can see whose trucks are there, which trades are there. I mean, it has night vision. This is great for insurance if stuff were to get stolen. The list kind of goes on, right? So what happens is we have to provide red carpet kind of treatment to your investors, but provide a very high level of transparency. Think of that. If you're not doing that, you're not going to do well. And you're also competing with all these other guys. So what we do too to add is not only these updates, we do video updates. I have a lot of people go to my social media, because what you'll realize is 70% of all your investors that, if you've been successful, will reinvest with you on other projects. So by building continued relationships with them through content. But what I also do is once a year, every summer, and everybody that's been with me for years know it's coming, I have an assistant contact every single one of my investors, and we book a call for annual phone calls, and we go over what's going on in the world, what's new with Paradigm, what new offerings we have. And then it gives me an opportunity to either raise more capital for other projects or address people's concerns, which is very important right now because of the volatility and the uncertainty and what's going on. We don't have to go too political here, but those are big conversations. And that's where you're going to see the majority of your conversations with investors going, is the what if. I'm scared, in essence. I'm worried. What are you doing to hedge risk? How are you operating? What are you doing? You need to have practices in place for worst case scenario. And the other thing, and the one thing I've wanted to always make sure I tell people, this is not a sales game. Do not think that you're just going to sell people. I had that mentality years ago. I got to sell, I got to raise money, I want to do this. Stop selling. Education is important, and people want real. They want honesty. They want to know your hardship. They want to know you've lost money with other people's money in the past. What are you doing to change that? What have you done better now? If you're just real, people will trust you and invest with you, and you can have those hard conversations. And I tell people, don't invest with me unless you know what you're getting yourself into. Ask all the right questions. Keep going. Ask as much as you want. Talk to everybody in the team. Because if you make an investment, I don't want you to call me in a year and go, I don't know what I got myself into. I won't put up with that. So get the sales side out of it. You need to be educated on what you're doing. You need to know who your competitors are, where the market's going. Use data, because data eliminates psychology. Right? And give people right information so they can invest. So anyways, Nate, I'm sorry to go on a tangent. That is just something I think it's very important people need to know.
But you nailed the tangent. That's so important. And like I said, we may have to do this again, because we've been talking about the technical mechanics of marketing. But that's before that discussion and the actual sales process takes place. So that's a whole nother realm of best practices with prospective investors, actual investors, how to respond, how to stay out of trouble.
So I want to answer to this question. So does it piss off your employees at 24/7 having cameras? No. What I'm doing is I'm holding them accountable, right? So for example, if I have a guy who's going to put in air conditioning, I'm going to say, hey, okay, how much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take you? And then we go into contract for that. And what happens is I'm going to hold them to that contract, and I'm going to call them ahead of time and go, hey, I don't know if you're going to hit your schedule. Is there an issue? Is there a problem? You don't want to be too bullish with it, but you want to be able to let them know, hey, we are watching. And if you want this contract, because as you guys can see, so in this city, we're the largest commercial developer. So you can imagine every every line item has zeros behind it. And the way the construction mentality works is they care about business and long-term business. They just want their wages. So if you look at one of our projects, it's a 3-year, 4-year project. So a sub, that's like, I have business, consistent business for 4 years. So when you go into negotiations with them, they're looking at this as like a shotgun for their business. They're using it to grow their business. They say, hey, I got their contract over here. I'm working with Paradigm. I could do your job. So you working with our company allows them to not only get other business, it gives them consistent business, helps them retain employees and laborers. The list kind of goes on. So at the end of the day, what this does is it holds people accountable, and you just let them know remember, this isn't sales. This is transparency. This is what I expect. If you don't deliver, you're out. I'll bring somebody else in. It's just that simple. So it's very important that you also see the other side of it as well.
And I do want to add to that, you're doing projects in many places. You're moving from area to area. I've done my own ground up developments, and having a camera out there is today kind of a standard, but it's so important to be able to oversee without physically being there 24/7 at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's also cheaper for your builder's risk policy and insurance too. Because in 2008, what was happening is people were, when the market was getting worse, what was happening is contractors were taking material from this project and taking it over to another project and having the bank fund it. And then they would it was just fraud all over the place. So what happens is if you have to call on your policy because some of your stuff got stolen, as long as you could show proof that it wasn't, you that stole your own product, and you have a police report and the list goes on, the likelihood of your insurance to pay out, it goes up. But it also allows, by having a camera, which by the way, it's called I-beam if anybody's interested, by having that camera, it does allow you to get cheaper insurance policy, which by the way, insurance is another issue. And so it's really important that you are implementing practices even from an insurance side.
And I'm going to answer a question from Jervin because it is really important to just touch on. Address how to market your opportunity before the SEC filings. Yeah. That is, and you're correct there, it is called testing the waters, where you have a disclaimer. You're putting it out on any ads you're doing, on any posting specific to that project. However, really what we've talked about today is not just about pitching specific projects. It is more, well, a lot of this is about awareness of building your community, building your presence online through remaining active. But you can still, I honestly would never run an ad for testing your waters, because you're not going to get anything out of it, because you're literally just saying, could you possibly maybe interested? But your channel, your community, your organic reach, absolutely be testing the waters as early in a project and as often in a project as you can while you're planning those next legal steps to bring in those investors.
So I'll piggyback off that, Nate. What I do, guys, which is probably a little different, but like I get a lot of views on my story posts. So what I'll do is I'll just do like a little poll. I'll say, hey guys, I'm on site at my current project. I'm thinking about opening up a new fund to allow people to get involved that are non-accredited with a small of an investment of $2,500. Who would be in, right? And then I say, I'm in, I'm not in, I want to invest on it. Well, what happens is what happens is, I know this is the way it goes. Your best friends and all your friends are going to hit, I would. So the percentage of what people say is going to go up. So it builds credibility for all the other people that are going to start looking at your story. And all of a sudden your story says, I want to invest. Or you also get, which not just your friends, but you also get all these other people that you haven't really engaged with that have been following you. They say, I'm interested. Well, all I do is I click it at the end of the day. I look at how many people said I'm interested or I would do it, and I screenshot it, and then I just reach out to them right there on a messenger and go, great. And I can literally raise $1 million in 2 days off doing that. Say, hey, I'm going to contact you. I'm going to put you on the list. I have an assistant. Her name is Tiffany. She'll be reaching out to you, but I would love to have a call with you. I'll meet you on site, blah, blah, blah. And it's just that simple. So by creating those polls, you're gonna crush it, but it's gonna create credibility because you're gonna get so many people that say I'm interested rather than I'm not interested, and then other people just keep watching you because they're realizing that all these other people are saying yes. What is it that they're missing? So the eyeballs that you're going to get on your content over time, it can be very impactful. So when you do those calls or you have a call to action, you're going to get more and more engagements.
Absolutely love it. We are at the top of the hour. I just want to throw out one more thing as a reminder. If you're actually interested in some of the stuff that Ryan's talked about, check out his website, paradigmcompanies.com. And at least his deals are at /offering. So I just kind of want to throw that out. Anybody wants to learn more, there you go. That's how you get to them. Final couple statements, if you have anything before we jump.
I think I try to, I do a lot of coaching recently too, and I tell people really the best way to do this is be yourself. Trying to go into a strategy of being too corporate or too suit and tie or whatever, yes, it works to a certain point. If that's going to be your target market, there's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, pick a lane and stay with that lane, right? If you want to do social media and you're going to be heavier on social media, then you understand the platform that you're marketing through and then utilize the practices to get those algorithms to push your content. Always think, how can I make people feel more comfortable to learn what it is we're doing and drive people to a landing page, but have the ability to capture their information? It's really not that difficult. So the strategy needs to be, who you're marketing, driving them to the landing page, have enough content on there that they can study and see it. So when you do make contact at whatever level or they respond, they feel comfortable to want to get to know more or possibly even go right into an investing. So it's really just that simple. And again, being yourself is really the best thing, moving forward, because these people, you become married to them. I always tell everybody a story where I had a lady who her daughter died on the operating table at the age of 9, and the family invested the life insurance payout. And the one thing I tell everybody is, if you're going into this just trying to raise money, develop projects, you've lost that's not the value. The value is in the relationships with each and every investor that you bring on, and especially the ones that you're talking to. So once you understand that that's what matters and they're going to be your biggest supporters, and when things get bad, you can call them and be honest and say, hey, things are getting tough, or interest rates went up and we lost funding over here, or bottlenecks and materials are happening, we have these delays. You've established those trust. And when you have multiple investors, a couple of bad investors can make a deal go bad. So make sure that you just have this 100% transparent, get to know me and who I am. Here's my strengths, what have you. And if you can be a real person, that's all people want. So I would say just get comfortable with having to expose yourself, because that's going to be the determining factor of your success.
Ryan, couldn't agree more, and really appreciate you joining today. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and looking forward to catching up real soon.
Great. Thank you, sir.